ॐ शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। दयानन्दरूपं मदाचार्यमीडे। भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि नहि रक्षति डुक्रुन्करणे। मूढजही धनागमतृष्णां कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णाम्। यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपातं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तं। नारीस्तनभरनाभिदेशं दृष्ट्वा मागामोहावेशम्। एतन्मांसवसादिविकारं मनसि विचिन्तय वारं वारम्। नलिनीदलगतजलमतितरलं तद्वज्जीवितमतिशयचपलं। विद्धिव्याध्यभिमानग्रस्तं लोकं शोकहतं च समस्तं। यावद्वित्तोपार्जनसक्तः तावन्निजपरिवारो रक्तः। पश्चाज्जीवति जर्जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे। यावत् पवनो निवसति देहे तावत् पृच्छति कुशलं गेहे। गतवति वायौ देहापाये भार्या बिभ्यति तस्मिन् काये। बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः। वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तामग्नः परमे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न लग्नः। We saw the fifth verse. In the third shloka, Naristanabharanavidesham, we saw that it is Shankaracharya is mainly talking about attraction or longing or an attachment towards opposite gender. But one thing we have to understand here is that is he's addressing kama. Second shloka he addressed artha, and the third shloka is addressing kama. And in kama, it's not only towards other body, towards the opposite gender's body, it's even attachment towards one's own body. Even attachment towards one's own body is going to cause pain later when you have this attachment. This body is nothing but, even don't keep on admiring oneself standing in front of the mirror and always either hating the body or even both are extremes, even hating one's body or loving too much one's body, both are a delusional. You don't have to hate it nor you have to love it. This body is given. I accept this body gracefully in whatever complexion it is. It doesn't matter, the height doesn't matter, the weight doesn't matter. Of course the weight matters when you're not able to carry yourself, when your body becomes too heavy for yourself to carry, which leads to ankle pain or knee pain or high blood pressure and all that. But till such time, one need not pamper one's body. It's all right for you to keep it fit as long as the body is functional. So it is one's responsibility to make sure that the body is functional till our last breath, whatever prarabdha is given to us. Till such time, this body has to be taken care of, and that is why we have Yoga Shastra by Patanjali Maharishi. And this Yoga Shastra talks about various pranayamas and asanas. See, if the body is not to be taken care of, we won't be have given, they wouldn't have given us Patanjali, wouldn't have given us these Yoga Sutras. So what was the purpose of this Patanjali's Yoga Sutras? It is meant to maintain this body and mind both together. Why? Because it is for Ishvara Chintana, it is a moksha sadhana. So you see this body as a vehicle, you see this body as a sadhana to accomplish Bhajagoviddam, in order to accomplish the purpose of human life. And the purpose of human life is definitely removal of ignorance and knowing one's own true self. Generally, yoga is nowadays seen as exercise. Yoga is not an exercise. Yoga is a sadhana where um, chitta ekagrata is taught, and where um, discipline, with reference to food, with reference to other habits, with reference to how you carry your body, how you deal with your mind, how you deal with your body. Everything is given there in Yoga Sutra. The purpose, Viveka Vairagya also is included in Yoga Sutra. So one should not see yoga as an exercise. Because once you see yoga as an exercise, again you're focusing only on the body. Yoga is not just for the body, yoga is for the mind. And hence yoga has to be approached with a prayerful attitude. Whatever asana has been given to us, pranayama is given to us, has to be done with a prayerful attitude. Surya Namaskara. Surya Namaskara is not an exercise. If it is an exercise, why even include Surya? Why even give the 12 namas of Surya Bhagavan in that? Not necessary, right? So when we say Surya Namaskara, it means we need the anugraha of Ishvara in order to, the prana has to function properly, all the internal organs have to run, all the panchabhutas have to function properly in our body. So this body has to be there with us till I accomplish the purpose of this human birth. So the body has to be taken care of, but not in to the extent where a person makes the goal of the life is only to look after the body, not to that to the extent. It's like always focusing only on the car, not understanding the purpose of the car. The purpose of the life is to not to maintain the car. The purpose of the life is to why you have a car? It's because it is useful. So we have to make sure that we maintain it to an extent where it becomes useful to me. That's all. So and don't focus too much on the shape of your body. People see um, the models, the movie stars, and advertisements. In an advertisement, they will introduce a 16-year-old for some other advertisement where the housewife has the homemaker. Nowadays they have to say homemaker. The homemaker has a college-going student, the child. And then people look at her and say, oh my God, she's so young, all this Santosh so bad and all. All these things really affect, because what you keep on listening and what you keep on looking at definitely conditions your mind. So when the world around you is conditioning you and making you focus too much on the body, then we have to take an extra effort to make sure that we don't focus too much on the body. We have to focus on something else. So, and similarly, with reference to food, the food has to be healthy. So so to that extent, take care of your body. It is meant for moksha. So don't indulge too much in the body. There are many people who spend all that money, first thing they have the money is on cosmetics and everything, and they get so depressed. People get so depressed when they see the first wrinkle or first gray hair, and spend so much on coloring it or hiding all the face marks or whatever marks they have on their body. So Shankara is saying even that attachment towards one's own body is also a delusion. This body will anyway fall, Nali. It's a Atishaya Chapalam, he says in the next verse, Nalini Dalagata Jalam Atitaranam. So this life is Atitaranam. And your body has value only as long as there is prana in this body. How much ever you pamper this body, you know that this body may fall one day. Anytime, not one day, it may fall anytime. And it is not going to be there for forever with you. And this body is subject to many changes. And all these changes are not totally controllable. You can control to some extent, but they are not totally controllable. See, accept and do what needs to be done. If there is any issue with the body, you accept first, accept it. And see why it has come, why this pain has come, why this has come. Then you can definitely make the effort to change through diet or through exercise or through medicines. So you have to be fit and healthy. It doesn't mean that anytime anything will happen, so why should I take care of the body is also another extreme. Not only the body, Atishaya Chapalam is not just this body. Anything that you possess, all your possessions, they are not going to be there with you forever and ever. Everything has been given to you. Everything that we have is only temporary, just temporarily given to you. Keep this for some time and make use of it and return it. Not even return, it just falls. Whatever is given to you just goes away. It doesn't even take your permission before leaving. The body doesn't say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to fall. Anything or any possession that you own, it's not going to take your permission or it's going to give you a prior intimation as. So what do I do? Do I live in fear of losing anything at any time? No, it's not like that. It only means since this has been given to me, it's a rare opportunity for me. It has been given to me. I'm blessed to have all this. So whatever I have, let me really enjoy, make full use of it, make maximum use of this body and any possession. It could possession in the sense it could be family, house, money, wealth, everything. So you see it as a grace, see it as a blessing, see it as a blessing from Bhagavan. However small it may be, however big it may be, small and big is only one's own perception. So see it as a anugraha. Ishvara's anugraha. I have this. And live happily with it. So what happens when you really enjoy whatever you have instead of focusing what we don't have? Then you live your life full. You enjoy whatever is given to you. You're happy with whatever you're given to you. Even if that leaves you, you will allow it to go gracefully. It doesn't cause any pain. You're with gratitude you will let it go. That you have been there with me all this time. I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful that you were there with me. It could be a person or it could be a object. So how can I be grateful to an object? Of course, you're not going to say, thank you, my dear chair, you broke today. Thank you, my chair, dear TV, you didn't function, but all these years you were there with me. You can tell that also. There's nothing wrong in telling your TV, you were there with me all these days. I'm grateful. I really enjoyed every moment having you with me. Because if it is there with you, it is only because Bhagavan has given it to me. Anything, everything is given. Even if I say that it is my hard-earned money, I worked so hard, I made so many sacrifices to get all this. Even the ability to earn is a anugraha. I was able to earn, right? I was able to work. That intelligence. Anything you see is given by Ishvara. Nothing is on your own. Whatever I earn, it is because with whatever was given already only I am producing something. I am not producing something which is not there. With whatever is given, I am creating or producing. So live happily with whatever is given to you, given by Ishvara. Ishvara has given this to you. So anything can be taken away also. Bhagavan has given it to you only for a temporary short period. Anything given. So we are allowed to use them in our life. So we have to make maximum use. What are your body, your mind, your sense organs, your health, your wealth, anything should be used only for one's own inner maturity. So am I better than yesterday? So I used to cry for 10 minutes. If this happens now, with my clarity and with my understanding, with my Ishwarapana Buddhi, now I cry only for 2 minutes. Or maybe I cry only for 9 minutes. Even if 1 minute comes down, it's a big change. It's a big transformation. So people think that what am I going to, all these days I have been praying, all these days I have been listening to Vedanta, nothing has happened. That is not true. Something keeps happening. Definitely there is a change. So one has to be patient with oneself when it comes to prayer and when it comes to listening to the Shastra and make a real sincere effort to understand day by day, make a sankalpa that so next time when something happens, this is how I am going to respond to it with the clarity I have. So when next time when you have a pain in your body, or then instead of cursing yourself or seeing yourself as a victim, even that is a delusion, because the body is subject to change. Anything will happen to the changes. There is no need to see oneself as a victim of something. So with a prayerful attitude, you can really go on with your life. The person is saying, remember Raja Govinda constantly, and may you have that Viveka Buddhi, the ability to see what is Nitya and what is Anitya, and understand the reality of things and go on with your life with a prayerful attitude. And the next verse is Yavat Vittoparjana Saktaha Tavan Nija Parivaro Raktaha Paschat Jivati Jarjara Dehe Vartam Kopina Prichati Dehe. It is referring to the love we receive from people. Even the love that you receive from people, nobody is capable, really capable of, nobody is really capable of giving you unconditional love. So it is only Ishvara can give unconditional love. Unconditional love is possible only from Ishvara, and any jiva is really incapable. Even if you say Jnani, okay, Jnani gives unconditional. Now who is going to define who is Jnani? Because Jnani is not a physical lakshana where you can say, oh, the one who sits like this is a Jnani, one who has a hair like this is a Jnani, one who speaks like that is a Jnani. You cannot say. You see someone as a Jnani, that's all, with their vyavahara. And that person definitely has unconditional love because he doesn't expect anything in return from you. So what Shankara means by conditional love and unconditional love is, a conditional love is where definitely there is some expectation, some expectation from the other person. And like if certain conditions are fulfilled, then it means it is love. If those conditions are not fulfilled, then there is no love. And also these conditions keep changing, from time to time. And our expectations of how we need to be loved also keeps changing. So, so the nature and the quality of love keeps changing depending on the conditions I expect. When I say these are the conditions on which you have to respond to me, and if that response doesn't come, then there is pain. So naturally, I feel that there is a change in the quality and the nature of love. It may not be true, but that is how I see, because uh, at the core, I feel insecure, and I need to be reassured again and again that I love you, I love you. Somebody has to tell me, yeah, yes, I love you, I love you. That becomes a job, becomes a job for everyone to make the other person feel assured that the other person is really uh, deserves my love. Then at some time it becomes very frustrating also. How long you have to keep on saying that I love you? Now you know that I love you, right? Why do I have to prove it every day? Why do I have to do only this thing to prove that I love you? These frustrations come in relationship. Of course, we see there are very rare cases where people do. People, so remember, this Bhajagovindam is Shankara is using a hammer, hit and drive certain points. He wants it to directly sink inside one's head. So he will talk about the extreme situations. Of course, there are many other situations where people do love each other and they are there for each other and they are happy. But that is very, very rare. That's what he's saying. It's very rare. It needs a lot of punyam to have such people who really, really uh, love you to the extent that they don't expect anything from you. That is also there. But then in general, what we see in Vyavahara is people change. People are subject to change. The mind is subject to change. People's expectation changes. So there is nothing called as absolute love in this world. Neither you give absolute love, nor you receive absolute love. Even myself, every individual is incapable of giving that type of unconditional absolute love. So we are not talking about selfishness. So generally people think, like, oh, people are so selfish. They make use of it. So when you're loving somebody, when you are very selfless and you give everything to the person, and this is what I think I told you last week. When you invest love with some return, then when it doesn't come the way you want it to come, then you feel cheated, you feel hurt, you feel used, you feel exploited, you feel manipulated. But that is not the truth, because the person already invested that love, thinking that tomorrow this person or whatever is going to be my support. So and so will be there for me when I grow old, when I am helpless. So you're already growing a tree and pouring water to it and nourishing it with an expectation that tomorrow when you are weak, you can lean on it. Then when that doesn't happen, you feel cheated. So whose fault is this? Because the other one also is incapable of giving you the support. Then if the person is not capable of giving you the support, what is the point in feeling disappointed? Shankara is saying the only support is Bhagavan. He is the only one. You just hold on to him. So if you think, if you want to have examples, we have so many stories of saints who have lived in this country. Look at Mirabai, even in North, you have so many saints, They all just, uh, I remember only Mirabai. Jakubai also is there, right? So they all had difficult life, but they never, ever uh, gave up their Shraddha in Bhagavan. For them, they held on to Bhagavan all the time. But their life was really very difficult. Even if you look at Mahabharata, the Panchapandavas, they had surrendered to Bhagavan. Then people may wonder what is the point of surrendering to Bhagavan. We have so much difficulties. But nobody said that if you are a devotee, you won't have difficulties. Nowhere it is said. You can turn every page of every book and see. Nobody will tell you that if you are a devotee, you won't have difficulties. If you want an example, look at Mahabharata. Krishna was always there, but they went through all the difficulties. They had difficulties, but then they were able to get through it. Even the fire palace where they were burnt alive, they attempt to burn them alive. And when Durvasa comes in the forest, to meet Draupadi, and that Akshaya Patra food is over. So you can see many instances where Krishna was always there for the Pandavas during difficulties. So Bhagavan was there during difficulties. This difficulty was there and Bhagavan was there at that time. That is because we have our prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma has to be exhausted, right? That prarabdha karma will manifest. We don't know when it will manifest, at what time it will manifest. So whenever it manifests, I'm not worried because Bhagavan will somehow take care of me. You see the story of Prahlada. Father wants to kill his own son, and Dhruva, the mother refuses, the stepmother refuses to um, allow him to sit on his father's lap. Mira was given poison. Mira was, they sent a snake. They did character assassination of Mira. So all this are relevant to us even today. What had happened in our itihasas and in the life of many devotees of Bhagavan. Even in South, you see Nayanmas, 63 Nayanmas. I know only about Tamil Nadu, so I am saying about that. All had very, very difficult life. So being a devotee doesn't mean that you won't have any difficulties in life. It only means you won't see yourself as a victim. You won't feel helpless at that time. Even when you feel helpless, you know where to ask, you know whom to approach. And Bhagavan says the right people in your life at the right time. That much Shraddha we need to have in Ishvara. So what I'm saying is, generally in love, there is some expectation, and people say, "Oh, love is pain, love is hurting. People are not grateful, and all that." You see, when we do something, if you say, even if you expect them to be grateful to you, that also will give you disappointment. I give because I give. That's all. I'm not expecting you to be grateful. I'm giving because I have the ability to give. So I'm telling you how to avoid pain. Okay, there are even my own change. My attitude, a slight change in my attitude will help me to avoid certain pains because we accumulate pain and then we think that Bhagavan is giving pain. Bhagavan doesn't give pain. I welcome pain. I sow the seed for the pain. So whenever, does it mean that somebody hurts me? I should not feel hurt. It's okay if you feel hurt. You can feel hurt for some time, but then understand that that is how they behave. What can you do about it? We cannot change other people's behavior. So whatever is in my control is only my way of looking at things. I can change my perception. I can stop seeing myself as a victim. I just allow that person to say whatever the person say. Okay, you have today it is Bhagavan's prasada. Today it is what I'm supposed to receive. I receive it. So at every moment we have to see that need live a prayerful with a prayerful attitude. So Bhajagovinda means live with a prayerful attitude, not just the action of prayer. You understand? So that is where bhakti is love. So if you want to love someone, you love Bhagavan. Because your love will be completely understood by Bhagavan. So immediately don't say, "Oh, others don't understand my love." No, you should never go to the extremes. Even we fail to understand other people's love, right? When we get irritated by other people um, showing love to us, sometimes it happens. So let us not go to the extremes. We have to be balanced. So in general, everybody expects something in a relationship. So everybody's love is a conditional love. That is what Shankara is saying. It's not that purely I am not expecting anything from you. You do whatever you want. It is not there. So we don't mistake this conditional love as an unconditional love. It is a delusion. They all will be loving to you only as long as you yavat vitta uparjana saktaha. Only as long as you are contributor, everybody will be loving to you. Even that unconditional love that you are looking for becomes conditional because that is when you will understand it is conditional, and at that time you will be unnecessarily feeling you have all those emotional issues, why you want to get into all that. So because when you become old, nobody is going to inquire about you. So do not expect anyone to inquire about you. So don't slog for your family. Do what needs to be done. That is enough. Therefore, Bhajagovindam. Because in the Upanishad also says, you know what the Upanishad says? The Upanishad says you are Ananda Swarupa. Your nature is Ananda. So why do you have to seek something else? So, when you say that something is making me happy, that happiness is the source of that happiness is only you. That is what the Upanishad says. It's like the sugar crystal looking for becoming sweet. The sugar crystal need not become sweet. Sugar crystal is sweet. It's sweetness. It is that sugar crystal which lends sweetness to everything else. And this sugar crystal is wondering when will I become sweet. So that is the delusion everyone has. That is the ajnana everyone has about oneself. So you are already Ananda Swarupa. So um, don't have longing and attachment. You can have love. You can have kindness. You can have compassion. So compassion also should be out of strength. Your compassion should not come from weakness. Your kindness should not come from weakness. Your kindness should be come from your strength. If it comes from your weakness, then you will feel that you have been used and exploited. See, I was kind to him. I was compassionate that day. All this will come. Even compassion and kindness should not be uh, with some expectation. If there is an expectation in that, that is again conditional. So the next shloka, Shankara is saying the body. So this body which your body or anybody's body, really does, even your pet dog, because recently somebody they lost their pet dog, they had a dog at home for many years. It died of old age. And this person couldn't come out of that pain. It's almost like you lost someone. Yeah, I will talk about that. Compassion. It's a new subject. Actually, when I mentioned that, I knew this question would come. I'll talk about it. Okay, I'll definitely talk about from where it comes, because you have to first understand what compassion is and understand what love is. When we do that, then many shlokas will come. I will take it up in that context. So, what happens when you lose? For this, I gave you know, like if you're compassion, you are compassionate to someone and somebody does something and you become angry about it or hurt about it, then there is expectation. That expectation itself is a weakness. You understand? As of now, you understand this much. When there is, you feel that I unnecessarily was kind to him. I was unnecessarily compassionate. It was waste. If you think your compassion or your kindness was a waste because the person uh, was not grateful to you or did not reciprocate, then there is weakness because there was an expectation. You know, like you wanted to be approved. There is some approval there that yeah, that person is very kind. Yeah, that person is really compassionate. That expectation will be there. That's why some people always being kind and kind and kind, they will sacrifice and somehow will be kind. And but they will keep on complaining also, I'm such a kind person, but this is what happened to me. I'm such a loving person, this happened to me. I was compassionate, but this happened to me. There is a condition in there. A condition where you are expecting the other person to reciprocate it. So when you are expecting a reciprocation, then you are seeking approval. Seeking approval itself is a weakness. You understand? But seeking of approval from others that, oh, this person is a wonderful person. You want to be recognized as such person. So for example, you do dhanam, when you give dhanam and See, I gave and the person didn't even say thank you. So in a dhanam is given not with an expectation, uh, with a gratitude from the other person. It becomes the other person's responsibility to be gratitude, to be grateful. Okay, but when I give, I don't give because I want the other person to recognize me. I give because I have to give. I should give. That is what Pujya Swamiji also says, the ability to give, even when you know that the other person is incapable of being grateful to you, incapable of being reciprocating. That is called love. That is called compassion. That is called kindness. So if for that I need a lot of inner maturity, that maturity to understand that maturity that where I give because I have to give. Because I'm born on this earth and I have to be a contributor. And contribute in any way. Contribution need not necessarily be money, need not necessarily be food also. Contribute time, we contribute time. There are people who contribute time and they talk about it, I went there, we are doing this. You talk even about seva and other things as though you are doing a very big favor and you are too proud about it. And suddenly somebody doesn't recognize you. I went and spent 5 hours and 6 hours. She came yesterday only for 2 hours. One day, the person came and we are recognizing that person. So what it means, I'm doing things for recognition. I feel somewhere I feel empty. Some emptiness is there. I'm doing it to fill that emptiness. So when I do something in order to fill that emptiness, that is weakness. But when I give out of my fullness, no, your thank you or your recognition is not going to add anything to me. I'm already full. Then that is strength. But if your thank you or your recognition is going to make me feel full, then whatever I am giving is coming out of my own emptiness, my own lack. Are you able to understand that? Did you get it? What I'm saying? If I'm giving out of lack because I lack something and I want something, an emptiness to be filled, I'm not being recognized. I want to be recognized. So I'm not being recognized is an emptiness for me. That is what I'm expecting from others. And so I go and do several things and I'm recognized and I feel, yeah, thanks. I was waiting for that. That is, then you are weak. That is called weak and strength. Weakness is when I lack and do something. Strength is when I'm full and I do something. So it really doesn't matter whether you say thank you or not. But then, uh, when somebody says thank you, I'm able to accept it gracefully. Okay, okay. It doesn't come like that. Oh, okay, okay. You just say, yeah, because gratitude also has to be there. The person has to be grateful. The person has to be, because even though our Shastra says one has to be kind, one has to be compassionate and be loving and helping each other, we have this Putta karma and other karmas are there. We have to do karmas are there in order to uh, it is our duty actually to be loving to others and be, care for others. It is our duty. So when it is my duty, you don't expect thank you first thing. It's like when a mother feeds the child, you just think every day the child says thank you ma, thank you ma, thank you ma. It doesn't feel good. For doing one's duty, you don't need thank you. But when it is not even your duty and you do something, when you're not necessary in a situation where you have to do, but you chose to do, is your strength, right? You choose to do. Even if you happen to lose time or lose money or lose uh, a special event, which because you spend that time here, participating in something which is going to be very special for you. You make a conscious choice of doing something because you think this is right. At this point, I have to do this right. It really doesn't matter. That is dharma. When you are that means you are in tune with dharma. When you are in tune with dharma, you don't expect anything in result. Everybody has this experience, like you help some stranger and you help and you just move away. You're not even waiting for the person to say thank you. It's everybody's experience. Our whole life should be like that. Our whole life is, I have been given an opportunity to be in this family. Let me do what I need to do. But again, there are many difficult situations in families also. I'm talking in general, but there are within families, people are in a very difficult situations. You don't know how to deal with people, how to understand people. How much ever you try to make things right, sometimes things are not, um, don't seem to improve at all. Then it is a specific situation, a specific difficulty in a particular relationship, which we need to look into in detail and try to understand. But generally, when we give, we have to give out of strength. Then only there is no. So the next shloka is saying, Yavat Pavano Nivasati Dehe, Tavat Pruchati. If you have any questions, you can message me. I will address it in the next class. Tavat Pruchati Kushalam Gehe, Gatavati Vayo Dehapaye, Bharya Vibhyati Tasmin Paye. So Yavat Pavanaha. Pavanaha means prana. Yavat prana Nivasati Dehe. Dehe means in this body. As long as prana is there, Tavat, till such time, Gehe at home, Kushalam Pruchati. They will inquire about you. What would you like to have today? What dress would you like to wear today? Shall I buy this for you? What gift you want for your birthday? Everything will ask. And but Gatavati Vayu. Vayu means Gatavati means when it has left. What Vayu? The prana has left. Deha apaye, left the body. Bharya Vidhyati. Even your wife or your spouse, husband. Your spouse. Even your spouse doesn't come and be with the body forever, right? Once the prana is gone, the body has no value. Nobody is going to ask how are you, what are you doing, anything. No. So why are you giving so much importance to this body? This body will be immediately disposed of. The one who is receiving the respect is only the person who resides in that body, the jiva who is residing in that body. So don't be deluded by this. Even the body, if it becomes weak, nobody is going to bother. But when you leave the body, who is going to even inquire? Even everybody will be afraid to leave with the dead body. You put someone with a dead body, you'll be looking. Of course, in the beginning there will be crying and all that. Because even the crying is only because of the memories and the fear of the absence of the person. The fear is mainly because what am I going to do without this person? You know. But if the person is not even a contributor, okay, fine. What is his age? It's okay. It's okay to die at that age. So if the person is a contributor, then the pain is more because you are dependent on that person. And if the person was someone who's going to be a support to you, then the pain is more. So even in Shoka and Dukkha, what Shankara is saying is, Shoka is Dukkha is there only because you were a contributor. So as long as you are a contributor, only there is even the Shoka is there. But once everything is okay, your property has been taken away from you and everything, okay, jane do na, it will go, let her go. What's the use? What's the use of living? People ask, heartlessly people ask. They look at the elderly people and that's what they ask. What is the use of living? And the world is really cruel. People can be extremely cruel. The cruelty can go to any extent. Where people throw away elderly people. Not literally throw on the street, but nobody cares. It happens. And it's very painful to see in certain houses. Even we have to conduct in a particular way where we command respect from people. Even when I'm old, people, I have to mature gracefully, not only physically but also emotionally. If I'm a nagging old lady or old man, always finding fault and not even happy with anything that is being provided, people are not going to be happy with me. So at some point, even I am responsible for other people to treat me in a particular way. So we cannot keep blaming the people also. How long people can keep on listening to your old stories and naggings and complaints? People have no time for all that. You don't like listen to all negative things in your life, complaints. Once, twice, people may come and convince you and talk to you and be kind to you, but after that, and just know that and just know that always talking about it. You just ignore it. So you don't invoke. See, in the other person, we should also invoke the kindness in the other person. Our behavior also should be in such a way that we invoke it in the other person. What you invoke in the other person is also in your hands. You have to, the kind personality of the other person has to come. Which means I need to behave in a matured manner at a particular age. As we age, we have to really grow. In some houses, we see that elders are always complaining about their youngsters, and the youngsters are complaining about the elders. There's absolutely no peace at all at home. The elder generation, the one generation is not happy with the other generation. keep keep complaining, keep blaming, keep finding fault. So we cannot control everything. It's impossible to control people. It's impossible to. Only thing that which is in our control is only our mouth, our eyes, our ears, our sense organs, our mind. Only these are in our control. So how am I going to master it? So I have to master them. And my life, the way I have led, it should be in such that way that people should automatically have reverence to you. Your vyavahara should be like that. It should start from the time when we are young. So even while young, if there is arrogance and it continues till your old age, definitely there will be disharmony in the family, especially when you see in this after marriage, when the daughter-in-law comes or when the mother-in-law, all that, the whole family. I don't understand why people find it so difficult to include one person in one's family. It's really weird. You bring a member into your family, and even the person who comes into the family, why the person is not able to mingle with that family? Why this family is not able to accept that girl or that boy also, even son-in-law? Why they are not able to accept that as one, as one of the family member? You know, forget about the world. The world is, what is your world? Your world maximum is only 4 or 5 people. That's all. The people who really matter to you are only 4 or 5 people. That is your world. So why not make that world a nice world, a happy world? So to some extent, these things are in our hands. So let us, Prayatnam should be to uh, change myself, not change others. Because when I say if everything else changes, then only I'll be happy. Then it's like let the waves subside in the ocean. Then I will go and take a bath. So if you say that everybody has to change in order for me to be happy, it's not going to happen. In spite of it, how am I going to be assertive? How am I going to be accepting? How am I going to? You can change yourself. If somebody is repeatedly behaving in a particular way, instead of asking the person to behave like that, then what needs to be done by you? You do that now. Person doesn't, for example, let us say they always make the house a mess. Don't keep cleaning, no. You get affected by when something becomes a mess. You keep your dress neatly, your things neatly. Okay, you take care of yourself, fine. So that you should be able to do without feeling guilty, without being angry. If you do it out of anger also, it's not going to work. So don't do it out of anger. Okay, I'm getting too much into psychology now, but anyway, we'll see all that in some other context. Another context, we'll see all that. So here, Shankara is saying, even your spouse is not going to be with you all the time once the body is there. They'll be afraid to be with this body. So to this body, are you giving so much importance? How deluded you are. That's what he's saying. Then in the next verse, this verse may not be there in some of the books. Arthamanartham bhavaya nityam नास्ति ततः शुकक्लेशः सत्यं पुत्रादपि धनभाजं भीतः सर्वत्रैषा विहिता रीतिः. So what he is saying, artham anartham. Artham means wealth. Even this wealth is worthless. Anartham has no meaning. And this, even in fact, the wealth becomes a misfortune for you. Whatever, when wealth comes, you say it's a fortune. But then the wealth also will become a misfortune sometime. From that wealth, tataha, there is no shuka kleshaha. So may you always, bhavaya nityam means may you always constantly do manana, bring it to your mind that wealth is not always fortune. Wealth becomes a misfortune. Wealth takes the status of being a misfortune for you. Uh, and from that wealth, there is not even an iota of sukha. Klesha, little bit, trace of sukha also will not be there for you. And etat satyam. Tataha sukha kleshaha nasti. Satyam. This is satyam. Why? What instance is giving? See, for a rich man, when you have rich, forget about being rich. Maybe you are a middle class person, but still you have some few lakhs in your bank, let us say. Suppose you are a poor man, but he has some 20,000 in his hand, okay? And he has a son who is waiting for this 20,000. Tradapi bhitihi, for this person, even your own son, your own children become a source of fear for you because you do not know what they will do to you in order to get that money. So that money is actually misfortune for you. As long as this money is there, these people are always after you. Give that money, write it and give you. What are you going to do with this money? Now you are retired, you have nothing to spend. You have a house, you have everything, and we are there to take care of you, na? Why? What are you going to do with that money? If you give it that money, at least we are youngsters. We need that money. We can buy a bike. See, because of you, I am struggling. So this person actually blames the father or the mother because this person was incapable of owning that money. He cannot wait to buy a bike, but he wants the father's parents' savings to be given to this fellow because he wants it. He's lazy. He wants quick money. So they make the parents feel guilty. They say, "Oh, how selfish you are. You can't even spare this or 50. I have a neighbor here. He got pay of 30 lakhs. And his son wanted to do higher education. He wanted to go somewhere and study. And he made the parents feel guilty for having the money and still not spending on him. The poor parents, they had to give that money. You know, so every time this person has some money, the son keeps asking for that money. Putradapi bhitihi. He doesn't even now he had some few lakhs in his hand, he had a car. So he thought if I have a car, the son will take away the car also. And he sold the car and he settled in some other village away from them. So very sad the way children treat parents. So parents also need to draw a boundary, from at a very young age. You want to keep giving, and one day when you refuse to give, they'll say you are selfish. You want to give because thinking that one day this child will be my support, but the child never turns out to be a support because you never taught him to be a support. You never taught him to be independent. You have to teach the child to be independent in order so that tomorrow he can be a support to you. You don't even teach him how to be independent. You taught him to be dependent. And how can you expect one who is dependent to be a support to you? How can a tree expect a creeper to be supportive? You never taught the creeper to be independent. You kept it as a creeper all your life. The parents also make a big mistake from a very young age when the child is born. From this day, my child should never know what it is to not have something. Is it really practically possible for parents to provide everything the child wants? So we need to have some buddhi when we bring up our children. Use some buddhi. People become stupid, emotionally stupid. They don't even know what is love, and because that is the expectation. If I give everything, then the child will be happy. If the child is happy, then he will be kind to me. If he's kind to me, then I will be taken care of. It's all delusions, total delusion. You ask all the retired people, the time, the minute the PF money comes, vultures are waiting to take that money from them. Own children, not your children, then somebody else is waiting to take your money. Be intelligent. But to be loving and also be intelligent. You can't be stupid and loving. Be intelligent and loving. Even wealth becomes a misfortune to you at a particular age and becomes a source of fear. Your own children become a source of fear for you. Ataha. So klesham. Then you wonder, oh my God, because of this money only this fellow is after me. Okay, let me give that money. You give that money and you don't have money. Then you are looking for a house for a rent. 5,000 rupees. No, I have only this much. I'll settle for 2,000 rupee house. So all this happens. So be careful from the beginning. Even now, it is not too late. Draw your boundaries. You have the right. Don't that fear of old age and all that really comes. Who will look after me? Even if this fellow insults me, it is okay. Where will I go? Somebody has to give me this one day food, one time food. Why you see these people as the one who are looking after me? If you say Bhagwan will look after me, then Bhagwan will send so many people to look after you, right? Hey Bhagwan, let my son look after me, let my daughter look after me. So you are closing all the doors. Why do you tell Bhagwan, let this person look after me? He said, Bhagwan, you take care of me. Then Bhagwan is free to send as many people as he wants to look after you. This fellow has some prarabdha to die at a very young age. Let us say you have a very close friend. Okay, my friend. Even if my children are there, my friend will be there. The friend's prarabdha is to leave. Then you say, Bhagwan, why did you take over me only support? Why you say that is only support? Because you say that is the only support. You tell Bhagwan, hey Bhagwan, this is the only support. You didn't tell Bhagwan, hey Bhagwan, please provide me all the support. Then you will say, okay, don't worry. Somebody will be there for you. So we close the doors. We tell Bhagwan how to look after us. So let that not be there. Yeah, I will give you the shloka. I will send the shloka, don't worry. I'll send it on WhatsApp. Okay? So Dhanabhajam, to the rich, there is fear, there is gitihi, putradapi, sarvatra esha ritihi. He's saying everywhere it is the same. Everywhere, wherever you go, this is the case. When you become old and when you have a lot of money, the same money which is in security becomes a source of insecurity for you. So this shloka points out the delusion related to money. The money is not always a fortune. Money is not always security. What was a fortune becomes a misfortune. What was a blessing becomes a curse. So be careful. Don't be deluded. Money can be used for dharma karya. Use money as long as you are there, your hard-earned money. You learn to spend the money in an intelligent way for yourself. Don't deprive yourself to bring up other people, your children. Sacrifice doesn't mean you deprive yourself. Take care of yourself also with Ishwararpana Buddhi, with surrender. We will continue in the next step. Om Susti Prajabhyah Paripalayantām Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishāः Gobrahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Lokāः Samastā Sukhino Bhavantu काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ